Hey, eighth graders. Okay, so this is a GDP review video for the quiz next week. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some practice questions, and we're going to try a format that'll be similar to if we were doing whiteboard review together in class. So I'm going to give you a question, and the questions are in the document attached in the link in the description box. So please look at that. What you could do is you could stop this video, go and look at that, work through all the questions, give yourself like 20 or 30 seconds for each question, and then come back to the video. But I'm going to space this video so that I'll give you the question and then give you about 20 seconds to work on it, and then I'll explain how I solved it. So this, I mean, you could just watch the video through and not do the work yourself, but then you're going to get much less benefit from this video. So if you use this video as a chance to quiz yourself after you've already studied, then you're going to get the most benefit. And these questions are pretty tough, but hey, guess what? So are the quiz questions. So this will be really good practice for you to see how well you know things. So don't worry if you get them wrong, but do take that as an indication that you could benefit from more studying of the notes. Okay, so if you haven't made flashcards of all the key terms, it's a really good idea to do that. Okay, so here we go. What part of government spending does not count in GDP? Why not? So 20 seconds on the clock. That's right, transfer payments. So government transfer payments don't count for government spending because they're not spending on new final goods. It's the government giving someone money, but not for providing a good or service to the government, like subsidy or social security payments. Okay, so not new production, so we don't count it. But when someone spends that money on a final good, we would count that spending on a new final good as consumption. Okay, what is the definition of GDP exactly word for word? Right. GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced in a nation in a year. Cool. If Toyota, a Japanese company, makes new cars in its factory in South Carolina, how do those count in US GDP? Ready? Okay, it does count because it's produced in the United States. So it doesn't matter that Toyota is a Japanese company. What matters is where the cars are produced, which is in the United States. So we count that in US GDP as consumption. The year is produced. Cool. Okay, so if a natural disaster destroys a lot of buildings, so those buildings have to be rebuilt, will GDP go up, down, or stay the same? Think about it. Okay, so pause if you need more time. Okay, so there's going to be an increase in investment spending on new construction, right? Because that's what's being rebuilt, right? These resources are going to this new construction of rebuilding what was there before. But remember, those resources have an opportunity cost. They would have gone to building something else if they hadn't gone to rebuilding the stuff that was destroyed. So we're not really sure what the effect on GDP is, but it could be sort of a wash, right? It could be those resources would have gone to something else. And so we're building more new buildings, which is investment spending, but we're also then not building other buildings that we would have built with those materials. What is the consumer spending in a nation if the investment spending is $4 billion? Government spending on social security payments and food stamps is $3 billion. Government spending on schools and parks is $2 billion. Foreigners buy $0.5 billion in goods and services from this country. And citizens of this country buy goods made in other countries, buy $1 billion of goods made in other countries, and total GDP is $25 billion. Make sure you're writing out the equation for this one. give you a little more time for this one because you do want to show the work to make sure you're counting all the right things and sort things properly. Also, this is how much time it takes me to work on it. You got this. Okay, you ready? So first, you remember the equation for GDP, right? Which is consumer spending plus investment spending plus government spending on final goods and services plus exports minus imports. Okay. It is super helpful to unpack net exports, so I definitely recommend doing that. Okay, so I rearranged the equation to show that we are solving for consumption, right? You notice that we're solving for consumption. So we have GDP, we have government spending, we have investment, we have exports, and we have imports. So I just rearranged it, just some simple algebra here. Okay. Then we go through each thing and we add them into the right categories. So investment spending is $4 billion. Government spending on Social Security payments and food stamps is $3 billion. But we notice those are transfer payments. Those don't count. Okay, government spending on schools and parks, so that's new final goods, is $2 billion. So that goes $2 billion into government spending. Okay, and then foreigners buy $500 million in goods. So foreigners buying U.S. goods is exports. Yeah, so that is here to exports. Okay, and then citizens of this country buy $1 billion goods made in other countries. So they're importing $1 billion. Okay, and total GDP is 25 billion. Okay, so then total rundown is 25 billion minus 2 minus 4 minus 0.5 plus 1. So 25 minus 2, so 23 minus 4, so 19, and then plus net half. Okay, so 19.5 billion. Okay. Okay, so 19.5 billion. All right, then next one. Ooh, what is the key term for each? Great. So what is the key term and how do we count that in GDP? So Carla builds a brick fire pit for her backyard. Okay, so we always ask ourselves, is this new construction? Okay, so ask yourself, is this new construction, right? Or a new final good? Okay. So is this a new final good? Are we creating value? Okay, yes, we definitely are, right? Okay, but can we count it? Okay, so Carla building a brick fire pit for her backyard is non-market production. It is value created, absolutely, but we don't have any way to count that. Okay, so non-market production, not counted in GDP. Carla advises her neighbor on how the neighbor can also build a fire pit. Her neighbor pays her for her advice. Okay, so is this new value created? Yes, right. She's providing the service to her neighbor. Money is changing hands, but can we count it? No, we can't because there's nothing reported to the government. Okay, so this is market production, right? But it's happening in the underground economy. So money is changing hands. So this isn't non-market production. This is a market transaction, but it's happening in the underground economy. Cool. All right, Carla buys the bricks at Home Depot. We ask ourselves, is this new production? Yes, it is. So we do count it because Home Depot is a business that reports their income. So we can count it. Which category? Yeah, consumption, new final good. All right, great. Carla buys gas for her car on the way over to Home Depot. Consumption, right? New final good. Cool. All right, Carla walks past things in Home Depot that no one will buy until next year. Right, so we want to count it this year because it was produced this year, right? So we do want to count it, and we can count it. And remember which category we put that in, the key term for that? Yeah, that's right. Value of unsold inventory and investment. Good. Okay, right, we want to count it this year because we produced it this year, even if it doesn't sell till next year. Great, okay. Carla buys stock in Home Depot. So we ask ourselves, is it new production? So stock is a form of a loan that a company uses to raise money when it's starting out, or at some point decides to sell stock and raise money that way. But it's like owning part of the company, so it's not new production. We don't count it. Not new production, we don't count it. So investments in the colloquial sense include stocks. So if your parents talk about investing, they probably mean buying stocks. But investment in the GDP sense only means new construction, new capital, new houses, and value of unsold inventory, not stocks, because stocks are not new production. Okay. To encourage Arizona residents to buy more energy-efficient home appliances, the state government gives households a $200 subsidy if they buy a new energy-efficient refrigerator or air conditioning unit. We ask ourselves, is it new production, right? Well, yeah, right. So the new refrigerator or air conditioning unit is being bought. And so we count that in consumption. But the subsidy, we would count then in addition to the purchase price of the new refrigerator, which we don't want to count, right? We'd then be double counting that. So we don't count the subsidy, right? Remember, government transfer payments don't count because they're not new production. So the person buying the new refrigerator counts all that in consumption, but the subsidy would be extra counting, so we don't count that. It's not new production. Okay, cool. Home Depot buys new shelves to display its products. Okay, so Home Depot is buying a new final good. So we do count that in GDP. It's new capital. So that's new capital investment for Home Depot. Home Depot gets a loan of $1 million to buy a new building. It's not new production. We don't count it. It's just a loan. Okay, Home Depot buys new bricks from its supplier. Okay, it's new production, but it's not a final good, so we don't count it. It's also not really an intermediate good because they're not making anything out of it, but it's not a final good. We don't count that. We'll only count it when they sell it to the person who buys bricks for some project. Okay, then the town of Chandler buys 200 bags of concrete from Home Depot to fix a sidewalk. Is it a new final good? Yes. So we count it, right? Yep, it's being used. Yeah, it's a new final good bought by a consumer, in this case, the town of Chandler. But yeah, it's a final good. It's not a transfer payment. We count. Owner of a restaurant sells the restaurant to someone else. Is it a new final good? No, it's a restaurant, right? It existed before, still exists. So this is not new production. We don't count it. All right, great job, team. Nice work. Good luck.